Thank you for the introduction. So afternoon, thank you. I've been made very aware of this is the worst slot. You've all had lunch, you're probably a bit in a coma, food coma that is. So I'm going to try not to bore you. This is also my first speech, so please go easy. But what I do lack in presentation, I've got knowledge. And secondly, apologies for the mugshots. I didn't realise we're in a cartoon. So today, we're going to talk about how we walk in the customer's footsteps, specifically more sizes customers. It's important to think about customers in everything we do. Why pick size? You can get any product anywhere pretty much. That's not necessarily true, but why pick out us as a brand? Well, it's the community. Community is the reason. So this is a very exciting study that we've worked on with REO, and what we found really interesting is the customer insights and just working with a fantastic supplier. And I don't have to say this because Simon is currently lurking around one of our shops at the moment who looks after REO. I hope you're all as interested as I am. Q&A will be at the end, so please hold fire on the questions. But before we go into why we're here, I just want to give a bit of backstory on size. Size has been around since 2002. It's been pushing the limits in terms of its exclusive range. It's phenomenal. We've got footwear, apparel, accessories. Most of my collection is actually exclusives, and I've paid for them, of course. And they have started since 15 years ago, and I've only been working at size for about 10. So it's massively, it's a deep passion. And then also size is very community driven. So we've done so many activations over the years, but I think these are the main ones that I really want to hammer home today. Store designs, most are unique, our flagship stores are. So a very good example is Glasgow. Everyone would think, right, you're going to spend loads of money on the store, nice shiny store, let's put loads of products in. No. We put a gigantic cone in the middle of the store because that is Glasgow and it's homage to the city, and it's a lovely store. Individual social accounts for the stores, what that means is it's unique to the area and they're very entertaining. So if you don't already follow Size Brighton, give it a follow after the talk, obviously. And then staff, they also star in our campaigns. So we've got store experts, and what they do is they power our virtual shopping online. So this goes on to a future point, but they support our online business. But they also star in our channels on the site and every other marketing channel that we've got. So they are little celebrities. Resize also is an activation we've got at the moment, and it's going to be around for a very long time, where all proceeds go to charity. Really good. If you've never heard of it, I recommend you look into it. You can get some really rare trainers, and it's for a good cause. All proceeds go to charity. And then we've got size sessions. So in most of our stores, UK and EU, we do local events where local artists star there. And then recently we did something crazy, and we did a festival or one-day event, and that was at Victoria Warehouse in Manchester, and that was just phenomenal. So many headaches, but it was just unbelievable, and you know, we did it. And then lastly, Size Syllabus is supporting the future generations through education, so it's amazing. And then the final point, we are global focused. It's a very weird word, I've only learned it this week, but we are global and we're local, and we have a local touch, but our reach is quite wide. So, back to why we're here. Customer service is incredibly important, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, but it really is on streetwear. It's so competitive. And you always hear businesses say, oh, we're customer first, and deep down we know they're not. But Size, we live and breathe customers, and we know we can do more, hence why we have partnered with REO on this study. So before I can tell you the why the what, the how. We need to set the scene. Omnichannel is a term that's been around for a very, very, very long time. But what does omnichannel mean? Well, my interpretation of omnichannel is online supporting store and store supporting online. Regardless of whatever financial targets they've got, it's making each other grow in parallel. And what we have seen is COVID has really helped us uniform. And I think a lot of business probably have also, but we really have. A good example of what omnichannel is in the market at the moment, and it's quite standard and you would expect it, is you buy online, you click and collect, pick it up from store, potentially return it, and vice versa. So nothing groundbreaking. While a lot of improvement has been done in this area, we do believe there's a lot more, so we needed something new. To really provide best customer service, regardless of the channels, you need to understand the needs and the wants and the habits of customers. You really have to see, hear, and in some aspects, not literally, feel. In the online space, it's relatively easy. There's so much tech that we can quite easily get a customer's perspective worldwide, and it's been around for a very long time. But in store, the technology is lacking in some aspects. However, we believe it's not as behind as we first thought. So the past mystery shoppers were a foundation of benchmarking customer service. And it did work at some point. But the data wasn't quantified, it was opinionated, wasn't real time. I'm not sure about you guys, but I wouldn't trust my memory. So to go back home and then to recall what I did that day, I don't know what I did this morning. So now we're bridging the gap between stores and online, which is why we're here. And it can be achievable by using modern day technology, more specifically Google Lens, eye tracking. Now, I love data. It sounds cheesy, but it's factual and it can be a puzzle, but ultimately you get to the same point because it's factual. So why am I rambling on about why I love data? Well, it supports everything Size does. We are very community driven, and you're going to get sick of hearing about that because we are. And to be community driven, you really do need to review what you're doing and where. And what better way to actually do this than to see what a customer does as soon as they walk into a store to the moment they walk out. No opinions, just facts. So you will see the customer journey split out into 5 sections. Firstly, you've got the window displays. Then you've got the initial customer entering the store. Then you've got the store interest. And then brand interaction. And then lastly, checkout. Reason being we wanted to know everything about the customer is because we want to improve on what we are doing. And this is why we've worked with REO. Now, I think we need to move on to how it actually works. Now, gladly, I'm not going to do that. Andrew's going to do that. He's an expert and he operates this, so I'd like to think he knows a lot more about it than I do. So, if you're welcome, Andrew.
Afternoon, CX Circle. Thank you. So, yeah, I'm not going to go overly technical, but I just wanted to explain for those of you that may or may not have seen glasses such as these. There are different manufacturers that offer them. But the premise really is to study and understand customers really in situ. So, use a platform like Content Square, and it's not a deliberate plug, it's just a reality. We're looking at data when the users are really in their moment. It's a genuine piece of insight. There's no fabrication. So traditionally, the way that we do this is we would do, user research studies where you do your best to recreate an environment that's similar to what the customer would be experiencing. With the glasses, we can go a step further. So they're not too dissimilar to the ones I'm wearing here, and they basically have like a connector that comes through. And what they do is they allow us to see exactly where the users or the customers are looking with eye tracking. So eye tracking is looking at where the gaze of the individual is in the moment. So if I'm looking over here, you plot it, and it's depicted by a little red dot. And the way that works through the glasses is they have integrated into them illuminators that look back into the pupil and take the reflections from the pupil and essentially cross-reference that data point to look at where your gaze is going. So the glasses have integrated into them high-definition video, the eye tracking that I just explained, and those two feeds are overlaid to give you a real view of what the customer is looking at, and the audio as well is also high quality. So you get to experience background noise, music in a store, people possibly swearing, various variety of things, but it really is quite true and genuine. To analyze the data, and James will go through it in a little bit more detail, we have to kind of create a map. So if you take a store, if we took this room, if we wanted to look at where all of you as participants in the study, when you walk through the door, what catches your attention? What do you look at first? What we have to do is create like a 3D model of this room, basically with a series of images, and then we plot the gaze. So if the first 10 people come through, they're looking at this beautiful plant here, then we would be able to plot that and do the analysis afterwards. So what that means in a store is that you can actually look at, okay, what do people look at in the shop window when they go past? What do people look at when they first walk through the front door? What pulls them in? And start to really build some quantitative data analysis. So James and I were chatting about, okay, well, how do we demo this today? So it's all very well good talking about it. So I was sort of coming up with some crazy ideas of chatting to my wife about it. My initial thought was to get a couple of you up here, a couple of you to stand there and put the glasses on somebody else, and for just to kind of observe what the person with the glasses looks at. My wife suggested that might come across a bit pervy and a bit inappropriate, so we just quickly dropped that idea. At which point my son jumped in and was like, "Look, Dad, no one's going to look at you. Why don't you stand there?" He says, "Look," he literally said to me, and this came out of discussing this study, "It looks like you were taller and someone squashed you. You're like a barrel." And it's not a lie. And then he wasn't even happy with barrel. He turned it into keg. So 2 weeks ago, my family nickname is now Keggers, as keg has evolved to something more familiar. So joking aside, we've come up with something, and I'm going to hand over to James. I do want to just, I suppose, not caveat it, but trying to replicate this as best we can in this environment is quite tricky. There may be a little bit of lag in some of the things, but it's full credit to James and Size for being brave enough to do what we're about to show you. So I'll hand over to James. All yours.
Thank you, Andrew. So, not much of a surprise now because we are going to do a live demo. However, I'm hoping this translates to the online attendance because we don't know. So please bear with us. So yes, Carnaby is one of our biggest stores, and we're going to go there now. We've got our reporter, Simon.
Hi, Sixth Circle. We're live from Size in Carnaby Street.
The noise is It is real. That's definitely his style. So yeah, forgive the lag, but yeah, the perving.
And back to you.
Thank you, Simon. It worked.
That definitely was not 2 minutes. Oh well, going to have to wing it. Well, I hope you all enjoyed Simon. He is good. I forgot how good our Carnaby store is, and I'm not just saying that. I've been there this week also, and it's just amazing. So hopefully you get a chance to see it in person, and I hope you enjoyed the demo. So I bet you're thinking now, so what did we get out of this? So we're going to go through the key findings. I do need to have a small disclaimer again that the actual findings were plus 50 pages, so we don't have time to go through absolutely everything, but we've curated it, and we do believe all the best bits are included. So what you will see is a lot of green and reds. So obviously that is where Andrew was saying that that's where the eyes are looking. So the storefront is arguably the most important part of the customer journey. Similar to online with the homepage, it's very valuable. It's the window to your brand, and this analysis really does compound that. We noticed that customers were going directly past the displays, which is a bit of a shame because a lot of time and effort goes on them. And they're just looking directly behind at the neon lights and the lighting fixtures, so slightly magpie-esque, but not. And then products itself, so what we did get from this is we need to keep windows simple, not overcrowd them. So the example there, you've got a decal in the middle and customers aren't looking at it. So we do need to change how we do advertising there, but the main thing is to keep it very simple. And it sounds easy, but how many windows do you walk past and you're just thinking, what is going on there? Obviously not size. So we wanted to know what captured customers' attention first, so we found out. As you can see, there's 3 clear examples on the screen of POS, and there's a lot of data on there. So what we were able to see by the mapping of the aggregating of the customers' movements in the store, we're able to quantify key influences such as attention markers and measuring how long they were looking at a respected object. So the new in example, the new in sign, they didn't look at it past 0.14 seconds. So there's a lot of hard work from the store and from the online team that goes into these screens, and just for that it's not worth the time. So we need to change how we operate. So which brands were most interacted with? Sadly, for business reasons, I can't tell you. I'm aware there's competitors already, and I've met a couple. So let your imaginations go wild at this moment in time. We stock everything we've ever dreamed of. The value here is which brand the customer grabs, and then what we cross-reference it with at the end is what they interact with at the end, or what they purchase, hopefully they purchase. This information is incredibly helpful because on size we're a bit unique. We don't just put all the same brands together. We will merchandise them separately in the trends, the categories that are current. So we learnt a lot in that, in terms of we do need to reprioritise how we merchandise. So which brands got interacted with? Again, we're going to kind of find out, and obviously it's being declassified, I guess. So using the same mapping as discussed before, we're able to quantify the engagement between the customers and the brands, and then ultimately what they ended up engaging with. As you can see, the top brand equals more than the remaining 4 brands, so it just goes back to the point that key product placement is king or queen. And also there's some demonstrations. So that's what it should look like. Obviously the way that we've done the demo today was a bit laggy. So the actions, the best bits, and we have done quite a few actions on the back of it. So again, please note this isn't all the actions. We just curated them because we didn't want to bore you. So to summarise it, get the product to the customer as quick as possible. Very simple but easily forgotten, similar to Windows. Kiosks and point of sale displays. Further love is needed there just to make them a bit more enticing and to support product. And then store layouts, again, per community, per area, they're all different, and we learned quite a lot with that. So we need to support point one, get the product to the consumer as quick as possible in the communities. And then all these and the remaining have been actioned, and we're seeing positive growth. So slowly wrapping up, how do we get this done in this kind of industry? Because the mentality is just not there. Well, size, always trials, new activations, it's always doing something crazy, and we have a lot of headaches, but for the right reasons. Going back to the start of the talk, we did touch on omnichannel, and it's something that you will probably hear more and more as the years goes on, but we do work as one team. Retail supports online, should I say stores support online, and online support the stores, and it has been like that for a very long time. This is not the first activation we've done for the stores, and it definitely won't be the last. We work off the facts of the customers, not personal or business assumptions, and then we have clear actions on how we can improve. And then lastly, I'm not trying to give them a plug, but a massive thank you to REO for support on the project and making this really easy, and specifically the technology was handled, and the actual study itself happened in just one day in multiple locations, and then the analysis was done really, really thoroughly afterwards. So I'm going to hand you back over to Andrew.
Yeah, this is just a shameless plug, running a competition. So we've tried to keep it in vogue with what we're doing. So those smart Ray-Bans have built-in videos, quite a cool bit of kit to be fair. The VR headset and a Airbnb voucher. Hybrid event, so we're running it as a raffle for all intents and purposes. You can scan a QR code for those of you that are attending virtually, also the guys here. We put cards all over your seat, so please grab those and scan them. If not, we've got little like lotto balls in a salad bowl. I can't think of a better way of describing it. On the booth, come and grab one, and then we'll do a lucky draw. If your number comes out, just like a rugby game afterwards, yellow 720, you may win one of these lovely prizes. So do participate. Yeah, thank you.
So more than happy to answer any questions, and also if you do want to try the actual glasses on, Simon is currently running back. These are his words from Carnaby, and he will be at the booth downstairs at REO, so more than welcome to try them out, but any questions welcome.
If he's not sweating when he arrived, he wouldn't run fast enough, so do tell him.
Hello.
Hiya.
I just had one question. How do you comply with the data protection laws with recording everyone's faces in store?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good question. So before we do it, and when we're doing it, we let everybody know in and around the store what's happening. And actually, there's a number of different ways of doing it. So you could recruit people beforehand and obviously run them through a screener and have it done, or you preempt people as they're walking in and out of the store. And actually, that's what we try and do as much as possible, so that we're not recruiting people. So everybody going into the store is made aware of it, they agree to it, and then ultimately we're sort of capturing people in the shopping moment. So they're coming into the store with a purpose, as opposed to, again, trying to recreate that. But yeah, obviously that's very, very strict. That depends from one business to another, to be quite frank, depending on the leniency that they're willing to tolerate and accept. But it's disclosed in the same way as you would have if you were doing a survey or market research in the same way.
How do you recruit the test participants, and what's their brief?
And what's their what, sorry?
What's their brief?
So the brief itself varies massively. So, in this particular study, we would recruit certain characteristics. So you could decide if you wanted them to be a certain gender, a certain age, income brackets that fit your kind of customer segment or portfolio, if you like, or personas if you have those. In this particular example, what we actually did is just capturing people coming through in the moment, so the public, without a specific requirement, so just making sure that they were coming into the store. You can be as strict or as stringent as you want. We've recruited things for financial service advisors and really, strict qualification. When we're working with tradesmen, for example, again, specific things in and around the trades or shops and businesses that they purchase through. So there's no easy answer to it. You can go as strict on we call them screeners, so you can go as strict as you want, or you can keep it open and loose. Here, what we're trying to understand is general customers, or size we're trying to understand, general customers' experience in the moment. And so as much as possible, sort of ethnographic study in observational and looking at what they're doing, which is the benefit as opposed to a traditional, well, I say traditional, a kind of lab-based study that you would do, where you're very strict on the recruitment criteria itself. And then we use recruitment agencies to find, specialist recruitment agencies to find those, so and to make sure that they don't participate in loads of studies. If that makes sense,
Keggers, or I mean Andrew, sorry.
Keggers.
I believe there's a question from the virtual audience as well. Go to the next slide. He explained the difference between first impressions and in-store interest.
Go for it. Yeah, sure. So yeah, that one did confuse me a little bit, but obviously I've reviewed all the documentation. So first impression is more customer service. Essentially, within seconds, what do you see when you get into the store? So customers are not that quick. They're not running, are they? So literally what they see, what the staff are doing, and it's more focused on the customer service. And then the store interactions is the fixtures, the layout, and then it goes on to the brand, and then lastly the checkout.
Have you retested any of the recommendations that you put in place, and was there anything that was interesting learnings from that?
Good question. So we've seen positive uplifts in the areas that we have changed. In terms of retesting, we haven't. I won't lie to you. But that's not to say we won't in the future.
Right, another virtual question. Can you share any unexpected results that you've observed?
I can't think of anything unexpected. A lot's worked, not everything, but that's as much as I can really disclose.
You mentioned you tested across multiple locations. Did you end up with quite specific insights per location, or did you have kind of any overarching elements that you changed in all of the locations?
Yeah, so we had both. So we definitely had crossovers, and they're the ones that we really did focus on. But then we didn't exclude the ones that were unique to stores, because going back to the community, we do need to do that. So store locations, for example, the store layout, they were all unique, and we're not going to change what we're doing. Let's say Carnaby, for instance, in Glasgow. We're not going to do a move for those locations as the same. But yeah, most of them were crossing over.
Can we pass this over really quickly?
I could have asked the question without a mic, but qualitative data can be open for interpretation. So for example, you were showing brand A was the top brand, brand B, brand C, but people can have personal preference to that brand. Or for example, you could have that brand in the sales, which could have impact that. In other words, how do you consolidate these outliers so that you can have a more, let's say, transparent result, if that makes sense?
I think I understand the question. I'm going to try and answer it the best I can. So obviously, it's hard to cater for every single person's needs and wants. We'd love if the store could customize itself in real time, and as soon as you walk in, it changes for you. We have got some cool things in the pipeline, but not to the point where the product's actually changing. We definitely have got some cool things happening in the next year or so, but we do work off the averages of that location, and we do consider them very seriously. But we did have a lot of participants in there, which gave us a really good sample.
Did the results you saw align to what you saw online? So the sorts of products that people looked at in store, when you went and looked at your online data, did you see a similarity? And if not, has it changed the way that you look at online content?
In terms of the brand correlations, I wasn't massively surprised, I'm not going to lie. In terms of the sale correlations, we are essentially global, so it does align, but not completely. Nothing really was surprising, to be fair. The retail team that we work hand in hand with, they were a little hesitant because obviously it is sample data, so obviously it's their babies. However, we've worked through and got happy compromises, and yeah, we've seen the benefit. So I wasn't too surprised, but they were. It's just a new concept, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's trying to bring more data into that retail environment and kind of losing that subjectivity. I'm not saying that's uniform across it, but it's taking a genuine data approach is harder just because you don't have the technology available, and it's sample sizes and other elements, outside factors, seasonalities, all of those things come into it. Whether heat, if it's hot and it's hot, cold, do you want to go back out because you're too cold in the store, too hot in the store? All of those things come into it. But yeah, making sure you got the right sample size and the statistical significance from it, and using the same UX methodologies that you would in a traditional study, give you enough confidence that the data and the insights are reliable. And then correlating that online, yeah, is obviously the end goal, isn't it, in terms of linking that experience.
Sorry, over here. Hi.
Hi.
So I'm quite new to ecom, and for me, the thing that's kind of missing from this is the emotional side of browsing a shop.
Yeah.
So obviously, as you said, hot and cold and all those kind of external factors. How do you take them into account when you're just looking at what the person's seeing?
Yeah.
How do you see what they're feeling?
So,
go for it, go.
So I can answer this. So there were a lot of emotions in this. We've stripped them out. And because we don't want to be making some essentially risky decisions on emotion, I personally get accused of being emotional sometimes because we are very passionate, and you do need to take that out of the equation and just look at the facts. But I can assure you there was definitely a lot in there.
Yeah, and just in terms of capturing that, obviously there's the way that people express themselves, and the inference. Either, well, if they're verbally expressing their emotion, it's somewhat easier. But then we have tech as well that sits and can actually monitor your heart rate, changes in your pulses and various different things. In the lab, we've got a mask, if you like, that sits over your face that looks at your emotional state, so how happy you are, etc., and so on and so forth. So it is a case of horses for courses, I think, and looking at what the purpose of the study is and making sure that as you're overlaying sensory data, that it's got a purpose and a meaning in that moment. So it's relatively easy to do, to be honest, and actually that's portable tech as well. So it's just a little thing that clips onto your finger, so that can be done reasonably easy. So it's easy to do.
Hello. Did you observe any interaction between the customers and the salesperson? Was that part of the study, and did you get any recommendations off the back of that?
That's a good question, actually. So, not specifically. We did have a bit about the the staff service. That has been addressed also. But no, it was the brief was quite loose, but it was to obviously track the overall service.
Cool. Right, we've got a few more questions from the virtual audience. I think one of the questions has semi-been answered, the top one. Second question is, can this be considered as natural viewing behaviour if participants are aware their eyes are being tracked and recorded?
I mean, unless we can, put them to sleep, fit them with some sort of biomechanical thing, wake them up in some sort of dream environment, I don't know how else you do it. So, look, I'm open to any suggestions, Of course, it's going to feel, they're going to be somewhat conscious of wearing glasses. I've worn them a lot. We've done tons of different studies in different areas with them. In-car, kind of looking at in-car entertainment systems and people driving. And like with all these things, you do put yourself at ease and you forget to some extent that you're wearing on them. They really aren't cumbersome at all. Very, very light. You know, you forget you've got them on. It's literally like wearing a pair of sunglasses. So, yes, they know, but the skill of the moderators, the people running the study, is to put these participants at ease as much as possible so that it is as genuine as it can be. What it is a lot better than asking someone what they thought. So, yeah, if there's a way of fitting a contact lens to someone without them knowing, please come and tell me. I'm in a booth down there. Yeah.
Andrew and James, there's quite a few more questions. Do you advise they come to the REO stand? They've got your details.
Yeah,
Would you like to answer a few more now?
As we said, yeah, Simon's sprinting back. He's a fit guy. So, yeah, come down, play with the glasses, put them on. They are really quite interesting, a cool bit of kit. No perving, please. Yeah, come on over and talk to us.